Hello and welcome to my video all about how to knit an ICORD. ICORDs are often referred to as knitted rope, but technically they're actually narrow tubes of knitting. They're very easy to make and they're made up of stockinette stitch. Usually when you're wanting to knit a seamless tube shape, you'll use circular knitting, and that's what we're going to do here. Don't worry if you've never done circular knitting before, it simply involves knitting around and around. Whereas in flat knitting, you knit back and forth across the rows. Normally, when circular knitting, you use 4 or 5 double-pointed needles, or you use circular needles. However, because ICORD is only a very small diameter, we only need to use 2 needles. I'm going to first show you how to use 2 double-pointed needles to make ICORD, and then later on in the video, I'm going to show you how to use 2 straight needles instead, just in case you don't have double-pointed needles. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is take a double-pointed needle and cast on your required number of stitches. Normally you would use 3 or 4 stitches, but no more than 6. I'm just using the long tail cast on technique to do this, but you can use your favourite method. Once you've cast on your stitches, the first thing you need to do is slide these stitches to the other end of the needle. Now you'll notice that the working yarn comes out of the last or the lowest stitch on the needle, rather than coming out of the first or top stitch on the needle like usual. And it's this that creates the circular tube of knitting. Then you need to knit all of the stitches on the needle. And then you just repeat that over and over. So you slide all of the stitches to the other end of the needle, and then knit all of the stitches. Again, noticing that the working yarn comes from the last stitch. Then slide and knit. Slide and knit, and so on. Make sure that every few rows you pull on the yarn tail like so, to stretch the ICORD out and to check your progress. Once you've made the ICORD as long as you want it, you then need to bind off. To do this, I'm going to use the regular knit bind off technique. So I knit 2 stitches, then use the left hand needle to take that first stitch over the second and off the end of the needle. Then I knit a stitch, and again take that first stitch over the second and off the end of the needle, and then repeat. So do another knit stitch, and take the first stitch over the second and off the end of the needle. That will leave you with just 1 stitch. Cut off the excess yarn, making sure to leave a yarn tail at least a few inches long. Take this yarn tail through that last stitch and tighten. In order to hide the yarn tail, you then need to feed it into a yarn needle. Then take the yarn needle up through the centre of the ICORD. You should do this for at least a couple of inches before taking the needle out of the side of the ICORD. Then pull on the yarn tail to make the ICORD bunch up, and cut off the excess yarn tail. Then when you stretch that ICORD, the yarn tail will disappear. And then you do the same for the other yarn tail. And that's it, your ICORD is complete. I'm now quickly going to show you how to use 2 straight needles instead. So again, cast on your required number of stitches. I've already cast on 4 stitches onto one of the needles. Since we can't now slide these stitches to the other end of the needle since it's got a stopper, we need to slip these stitches purlwise to the other needle. To do this, take the right hand needle down through the front of that top stitch as if to purl, but instead of purling you just slip it onto the other needle. And you just do this for all of the stitches. This has the same effect as sliding the stitches to the other end of the needle. Next, knit the entire row. And you just repeat this over and over. So slip all of the stitches purlwise, and then knit all of the stitches. Then slip all the stitches, and knit all of the stitches, and so on. Again, every few rows, make sure to pull on the yarn tail to stretch the I-cord out and check your progress. Then, when you've finished, you need to bind off the stitches and weave in the yarn tail ends. Finished I-cords have many different uses. You can use them as embellishments by sewing them into different shapes, for instance hearts or flowers. You can knit with an I-cord and basically use it like a super chunky yarn. You can use it for a border, such as around a blanket. You could turn them into necklaces, or you could even use them as legs on stuffed animals. And that's it, that's how you knit an I-cord. I really hope you found this video useful, and thank you very much for watching.